trading phone call to someone, and I had to take it now, or forever hold my peace. The hearing today is on a very important issue, the impact that the presence of valuable resources has in poor countries. Obviously, the question of mineral resources and others is particularly important right now because of the pricing impact, but this is a very important aspect of it, and we have the paradoxical situation where the discovery of wealth that should be very helpful to the people of particular countries has often had a somewhat negative effect. And I was saying this morning, for people who think this is purely about morality or ethics, the question of the corruption that sadly sometimes accompanies the ability to get at a resource can have very important implications. There are a lot of arguments about what's causing the price of oil to be so much higher than we would like, but everybody agrees that the problems in Nigeria are an important part of this. So if anyone wants to see what the broader implications on a global basis can be for everybody, they can look at Nigeria, because it is clear that the disputes over how much money is being paid and where it's going and how it's being distributed for oil in Nigeria contribute greatly to the turmoil that's one of the upward pressures on price. And it also is an argument to me about why people in industry ought to be supported. I know many are in an involuntary transaction, and I believe that it is often the case that the dissatisfaction that exists in various countries is based on a view that things are worse than they are. That is, I think it is not a case where if these things were made public, people would learn all these terrible things exclusively. In some cases, if people trusted us, it would be less bad than they think. But in any case, it seems to me it is in everybody's interest to do this. And as I said, the Nigeria situation, I think, is an example of why this has broader implications. We in this committee have reached a consensus on a couple of bills, one on the funding for the International Development Association, another on the question of debt relief. And we talked about conditionality, and we have generally had a bipartisan agreement that the international institutions shouldn't be dictating specific economic policy choices, but that it is reasonable, indeed necessary, to dictate or to make as a condition certain procedural issues, openness, democracy. I really believe that what we're talking about today is part of that set of concerns. We aren't telling anybody how to spend the money. We aren't telling anybody in this legislation how much money they should or shouldn't pay. We are saying that the processes of democracy in these countries, and even if we're not quite at democracy, openness, are very important. And so it's in line with the sort of procedural conditionality. We have rejected substantive conditionality, but we have argued for the procedural conditionality, and that's what's here today. And I look forward to the testimony. Particularly, I would say there is the one issue that we have to address, which is, and we'll be told, well, we've heard about the problems of unilateral disarmament. This, I guess, is a problem of unilateral disclosure. And does that put American companies at a disadvantage vis-a-vis others? It's one of the things we have to have addressed. I.e., are their governments so interested in concealing from their own people how much money they're getting that they would reject American companies, if they were to be subjected to this rule, to take others who would be less scrupulous? And that is a legitimate concern that will have to be addressed if we're to be able to go forward here. With this, I will now recognize the ranking member of the subcommittee on domestic and national monetary policy, the gentleman from Texas.